The following is a presentation of the Mat Talk Podcast Network. It's time for Inside Virginia Tech Wrestling. We'll talk all things Hokie wrestling with Coach Tony Roby and staff. Now, let's join your host, Hall of Fame wrestling writer and broadcaster, Jason Bryant.
Episode 98 of Inside Virginia Tech Wrestling. Jason Bryant with you with assistant coach Cody Brewer as he has wrapped up his first year in Blacksburg. Moving on to year number 2, we're going to talk about his expectations, thoughts, reflections, and things of the like. And first off, Cody, how's the weather in Blacksburg treating you this fine June day?
It's actually pretty gloomy out right now. It's not not too hot. We had a couple of hot days there in a row, and then it started raining like crazy. So it's been a little bit of rain, a little bit of both, but so. I'd say 50-50 on hot, and then it'll start raining. So,
spending all that time in Oklahoma in college, have you found any noodling spots in the New River Valley yet?
I have not been noodling. No, not since my days at Oklahoma. I did it once or twice, and that was all it took. I think I was just about done after that. It's a different kind of fishing. I think here in Virginia, I'd rather stick to the poles and digging my hand into a hole and letting a catfish bite it. So, it's been a little bit more easier, I should say, now using the fishing pole when I do get to go. I don't go a lot, but if I can, I will. So. Yeah,
I hooked into a 21-inch smallie last weekend up in Lake Mille Lacs, and it pained me so much to have to put that thing back in the water. And the walleye were at least decent enough, but Lake Mille Lacs, you can't really keep a whole lot of fish because, things being what they are up in northern Minnesota, certain lakes get fished a lot. And but I was pretty happy with that smallmouth. But I haven't done the noodling. The only thing about noodling I really have is a story from, I think, Detroit one year at NCAA's. Jason Powell ended up hanging out with us at the end of the night, and we were joking him about noodling. He goes, "Man, one time me and Johnny Hendricks went noodling," and I'm like, it was just everything the story I wanted it to be. So I was hoping you might have a noodling story, but I think we can just leave that one alone.
Yeah, not too much for me. The one time I went, it was a good time, and it's pretty crazy watching some of the Oklahoma guys rip up these giant fish. But other than that, not anything too crazy. So
I just don't want to hit into a snapping turtle, especially I saw a picture of an alligator snapping turtle in DC this weekend. I'm like, oh, thank you, no, goodbye 2020.
Yeah, not reaching your hand into that hole.
No, not at all. When we talk to wrestling, I guess before we even get started with some of the breakdown questions, I guess how would you describe your first year in Blacksburg?
I thought it was really good. It was obviously a difference from where I was in Chicago, just the team and getting around the guys for the first time. It was really good. I feel like we did some program, first in a while. We beat some really good teams this year, and ACC is not really where we wanted, but we qualified a lot of guys for NCAAs and didn't really get that shot with those guys, which I think would have been good for our team. We were kind of catching on some momentum a little bit towards the end with a couple guys. And so I thought it was good. Obviously not where we want to be as far as, potential yet. But I think we got the right guys coming in and the guys that we're retaining that are going to be hungry for year 2, I should say. But really good year from my standpoint, just to get to know the other guys on the staff, the kids on the team, know the area, know the people that work, with Virginia Tech, just athletics in general. So really good year for me and a good change of pace from where I was.
When we look at the recruiting aspect of it, because that's what people are talking about right now, because the underclassmen can get talked to, even though we're in a dead period, so to speak, being on campus for a full year really gives you the opportunity to see what a school brings, not just athletically, but academically. How much more prepared are you for recruiting student athletes to Virginia Tech now than you were when you first arrived?
I would say a lot more comfortable. It's just as far as, knowing the ins and outs of the academics is important. I think obviously these guys come for school, right? That wrestling's a bonus, in that aspect, and they come to get their education and knowing the ins and outs of that a little bit better, and even knowing your guys on your team, their study habits, how they do things. And it really makes it easier for recruiting to talk to these guys, knowing that I've been here for a year. I see, our GPA went up, this last semester was the highest it's ever been in program, history. So that was huge. For me, that's the important thing, right? Is setting these guys up for their future. Hopefully, they can stay in wrestling and wrestle for as long as they want, but, they're going to have to, transition to the real world one day, and you hope to set them up on the best path. So I think academically, even the last semester, we took a big jump forward in that aspect, that guys are really figuring it out. And then it only helps with recruiting if you have, really good GPAs and everybody on the team understands what it takes to be good academically. So
when it comes to the city, the area, Southwest Virginia, the school itself, what were you most surprised to learn about Virginia Tech in your first year there?
Probably just the change of pace a little bit and how friendly people are. This is one of the, I've lived in a couple different places now, and it's probably the coolest place is people are so welcoming and friendly here, and it's not a knock against Chicago. And I would even say the same thing about Kansas City. It's just people aren't as friendly. It's just a different way of life, and everybody's on the go. And this just is a little more relaxed and just a different part of the country. It's different everywhere. And, I think the people were so welcoming here to me and my wife, and it was really nice for us. And it's just a good change of pace of, it's a rural area, but it's a big college town, in a way. People love Virginia Tech athletics. And I think that's, huge for me to go into somewhere, because, where I was in Chicago, we were competing with, the Bulls, the Bears, all these great Chicago teams, plus that the college, and then I get to Blacksburg, and it's awesome because it's everything Virginia Tech. There's no other pro teams. There's nothing else going on. This is it. And people love it, and so that was a big thing for me that was really awesome to know right from the bat that it's important here at Tech for the athletics and just the campus in general. So
coming in, you've got personal expectations. What did you think your biggest impact was going to be coming in? And then ultimately, what did you see your biggest impact actually was when we got to the end of the season?
Tony kind of brought me in to work with our lightweights. I think that's obviously I was a lightweight. It kind of transitions easy. I think, my biggest impact, I think, is just, being there for these guys, being available. But I think, understanding what they go through, on a day-to-day basis and really putting myself in their shoes a lot of times. I'm not that far out of college from what, I'm, I think this is going to be year 5, year 6 out of college. So not too far out. I'm still, things are still relevant. Things are still the same is kind of what I was going through for the most part. So just being available for our guys, and working with our lightweights and trying to get, the biggest impact that I could. My goal was to get, 25 and 33 to the NCAA tournament to give them a shot to be on the podium, to win the tournament. So ultimately we did that. Both those guys qualified. So, I would like to obviously finish it out, but didn't work out that way. But, I think the impact was, Tony brought me in and told me these are the guys, you're going to work with. And I help everybody, but, I have a main focus kind of on those 2 weight classes. And I think that's my goal is to get those guys to the finals. So, and I'm going to try to do everything in my power to get that done.
What was it like working with a kid like Joey Prada, who had injury problems throughout most of his career and finally got that good season or 2 underneath him? And what was it like working with him and seeing his development, that he was pretty much healthy most of the time?
Yeah, no, Joey made some big strides early in the year, wrestled really well. The Vegas tournament comes to mind. I don't even know what he was seized at that tournament, but ended up finishing 4th. And wrestling really well. I thought, lost to the guy that ended up winning the tournament, by 1 or 2 points. So he was right there on the cusp. I think after Vegas, Joey's a good a good learner in that aspect. He'll come in the room, wants to learn. He wants to work hard. Really good kid. So it was easy for me to work with him on kind of a daily basis. And then towards the end of the year, we had some tough ACC opponents, dropped a couple matches, and then for him to finish third ACCs and qualify for the national tournament was really good. That's kind of where, he was at the time. He didn't wrestle the best at ACCs, but had to beat the same guy twice in the tournament, which is always tough to do, and did it and qualified. So I was happy for his progression, and, obviously being off all those injuries is tough to come back. And he's done a good job of getting his body back to where he needs it to be and wrestling through those injuries a little bit. So really excited for Joey and his progression this year.
And while you weren't directly hands-on as much with David McFadden as you were the lower weights, as you alluded to, he ends his career as a 4-time All-American. Granted, didn't get the opportunity to win it and be on the podium in terms of winning his place, but he was named an All-American, becoming the first 4-timer in Virginia Tech history. You were a 4-time All-American. How difficult is that to go through the course of career and have that pressure build? I mean, what's that senior year like for an athlete? And what did you see from Dave on how he was handling it throughout the course of the season?
Yeah, no, it's extremely hard to do. I think, and Dave even did it as a true freshman. And so that was, I had a redshirt here to progress a little bit and get through it. So it's even more impressive for probably Dave is that he had that true freshman year. I had to step up at a tough weight class and ended up finishing pretty well at the NCAA tournament. But, he did really well this year with, at times I think he had moments where he had to lock back in and focus and do what he had to do to win. But, he won some really tight matches. He went to the Midlands tournament, made the finals there, had a really good tournament there. So Dave's progression was really good. He's a guy that, he's really good at wrestling. If you watch him sometimes in the room, you're like, this guy's got technique, from everywhere. Really good wrestler. Had some really good stuff. And I would like to see what he does at the NCAA tournament. I had watched him before, when I was at Northwestern and just watched him from afar, and he was really impressive, and he seemed to kind of always turn it on at the NCAA tournament. So would have been good to see, what he actually would have done at the end of the year. But really good year for Dave and pretty impressive, to be there every year and be on the podium. It's not easy, in our sport. So.
On the other side of the coin, we've got Dave, who's got, leaves Virginia Tech with 4 All-American honors. Then you've got Cody Hughes, who's been a guy that's been a room guy, but he's been a spot starter. He's been put in the lineup. He's gone up in weight. He's gone down in weight. He's a guy that's been there for the team in every place that they've needed him. What's this guy mean to the program and you personally in the time you've been there at Virginia Tech?
Yeah, Cody was probably one of my favorite guys to work with in the aspect of, I didn't work with him full time all the time, but always had questions for me, always was looking to get better, and that's all you ask out of these guys is to keep getting better. And Cody was probably one of the best guys at it. Was always looking for the next thing. He was always, thinking about what he should do, what to put in his body. In the year I got to know him, it was awesome. Like they said, you had said before, he kind of bumped up in weight. He's moved around. He's been the program guy. To me, he's just as valuable as the David McFadden, and that's, obviously Dave is a 4-time All-American, all these things, that's incredible accolades. But if you don't have, the Cody Hughes, on the program, those guys don't make it, right? Those guys are roommates all the way through, really good buddies, and you don't have those, you need both levels. Right. And Cody Hughes finally got a shot this year. It was awesome to see him compete, at a high level. He qualified for the NCAA tournament as well. That's something he was looking forward to doing. In your first year, you kind of get thrown in the mix at a pretty tough weight class. The ACC, there was some really good guys in there, and he had to beat, some guys that he, people probably didn't think he could, and he did. So really good, to see him, and only, unfortunately, I only have him, for a year, but I know he'll be around the program helping out and hopefully be around Blacksburg. So
when it comes to you as a coach, what are the next steps for Cody Brewer this offseason?
Find ways for my guys to get better. Like I said, I'm kind of on the, on the cusp of, I think we're almost there to getting to where I can, we can put 25 and 33 in the finals every year, but I'm still got a lot of work to do. And I think to do that, you have, like I said before, you have to be available for these guys. You have to be, ready to do whatever it takes. Right. And I think that's, something that our staff is bringing in the right kids, and then producing those kids to be finalists. Virginia Tech's kind of been there multiple times, obviously with the breakthrough with Mekhi, and getting to that stage and winning. I think they've always been right there. And now it seems like with the talent and the type of kids we brought in, it seems like it's time to win now, and I truly think in the next, year or two that's going to happen. I think this year we have a really talented team, a really good team, but, we got to help them along the way and be there for them. So I like I said, I won't be satisfied probably ever until I can put 25 and 33 in the finals every year. And the kind of guys that, joked around about it a little bit now that have heard me say it, and it's kind of, in a way, I love all our guys on our team, but I want Virginia Tech to be kind of the lightweight U, if that's the, that's the name they want to give it. The guys are talking about it, and I'm perfectly okay with that. I want guys that, recruiting wise, that see Virginia Tech and say, that 25 and 33 are really good, and that's where I want to be. So that's kind of my goal for this year and for years to come. So.
Touched on the pandemic a little bit, but as it relates to Virginia Tech and facility usage, what can and can't you guys do right now?
We can't have a whole lot of contact with our guys, as far as, being in workouts. We're not really, the guys this is kind of a freedom time for them. I talked to them a little bit on the phone under that aspect, but it's a real, big on their own time, and which, for me actually shows, I talk to them a little bit from here and there, but, what they're doing, as far as workouts and we can't tell them to do, any workouts, but it's good to see them do, things on their own, give them freedom. Right now, we're very, for the most part, we're pretty structured during the year. So to give them that freedom in the summer, to do what they need to do is good to see. And I've heard back from most of them that they are working out in this kind of pandemic time. I know a lot of time it was right when it hit, nobody was really working out or doing anything, which was how it should have been. In that aspect, it seems like things are starting to open up a little bit to where our guys are rolling more now. It seems like whether they're lifting, running, or possibly getting on the mat. So, but yeah, we can't do a whole lot still, but I try to keep up with these guys as much as I can, when it comes to our phone calls or our texts and stuff like that. So
doesn't seem like you have to worry about anybody from the weight classes you're specializing in coming in 170 after a lot of time off.
If they do that, we might be in trouble.
We have some problems, yes.
Hopefully not. Those guys are staying pretty disciplined at the weight classes that I'm kind of helping out with, but it's good for some of them. Some of them need to get a little bit bigger, so it's good for a couple of them maybe to put on a little weight. But yeah, if they're weighing 170, I can still help them, but I can't wrestle with them anymore. So
get off me.
Yes, that's right.
Now, as we're looking at the recruiting situation right now, I mean, of course, dead period extended to the end of July. What can and can't you do when it comes to recruiting for those who are wondering how the process works from a coaching perspective?
Yeah, so no visits or anything. I think unofficial visits would be kind of going on right now. Official visits for in the future right now are kind of put on pause. Which, is unfortunate because you want to get these kids to see campus as well. We just got on the phones yesterday. Was the first day we could call that junior class, which was good. So talked to a lot of kids yesterday. And then, just kind of all, by phone, the Zoom call has kind of opened up a little bit as far as like we can see them and get in front of them on a Zoom call or, FaceTime as well. So that's it's just all by the phone for right now. Until things start opening up and we start getting more clarification from the university of what we can and can't do. But everything recruiting wise has been really good. We got a big commitment yesterday, which was awesome. So seems to be working what we're doing right now, I should say. So.
And in case you guys are wondering, we've made this point throughout the last several years. Coaches are prohibited from mentioning names or recruits that have not signed a national letter of intent. So if you're curious about that, I'm sure there's plenty of places you could find that information out. Just can't drop it here on this particular show. Now, when we get back to the coaching staff, I mean, quite a diverse group of guys, but you've got experience, you've got craftiness, you've got youth, you've got championship qualities. When it comes to what you learned this year from Tony Roby, from Jared Freyer, from your coaching colleagues, what was one of the biggest things you learned from them as a member of the staff?
I would say just probably knowing our staff and communicating. We were all kind of new. I'd obviously been with Jared at Oklahoma a little bit, so we were a little bit familiar. But me and Jared Hott got really close. We basically shared a desk for the most part. Sorry, I was trying to get office is what the word I was looking for. Shared office basically all year. So we got to know each other a lot well, and the communication aspect is important for coaches. I got to learn Coach Roby, really, really well, and that's, what he wants out of us. And that's the biggest thing is I think just he gave us, as being the head coach and going by, his path and following, he also gave us a lot of input. And that's something that was awesome for me. And, I'm a younger coach. I have, a couple years of experience, not as much as Jared and Tony, but really learning from those guys, how a team works, like I said, being around Tech for the first year, seeing how they are, how they run practice, and it was a lot of input. So that was the biggest thing for me is, I think they really did give me a voice, just as well as, they had their own voices as well, to Jared Hott and to our other guys on staff. So that was big for me, is knowing that we're all kind of one big coach almost, in a way that, everybody has their own opinions, but we all come together and really make it work, which is what I enjoy about, coaching with my colleagues.
And that kind of alludes to one of the questions we've got from Jason Dales, one of the handful of Grundy folk we actually had submit some questions for this episode. And it talks about how long are you looking to remain at Virginia Tech? I mean, this is a long-term thing. Obviously, at your age, there are aspirations of coaching, but are there head coaching aspirations in your future?
Yeah, I think so. I think I've always wanted to be a head coach, eventually down the road, but for right now, I'm going to stay at Tech as long as Tony Roby and Jared Freyer have me. Me and my wife really do love it here, and I could see myself being here for a long time. Chicago wasn't an endpoint for us, so that was kind of, I was kind of looking for the next thing. I had really good relationships there, and I liked the city at times, but that wasn't our endpoint, and now I feel like we actually have connected and made a lot of friends here and done a lot in Blacksburg. So I plan on staying here for the long haul as long as they'll have me. So
I'm sure the 25 and 33 recruits around the nation are like doing a fist pump right now because they've got Tech on their list. And another question coming from out in Southwest Virginia, out in Grundy, Tass Robertson, recent inductee of the Virginia chapter of the National Wrestling Hall of Fame. I've known Tass a long time. Kind of goes back to some of the earlier questions. He goes, what was your biggest attraction to Virginia Tech, and why do you feel, what are your biggest assets to improve the program?
Yeah, probably what attracted me more was, that I just, I connected with Tony. He called me, when I was heading back to Kansas City, actually, to visit some family, and really connected with him on the phone and really was, attracted about what they had already done recruiting, that they'd done a lot of work recruiting. And I've always said this, in now knowing Tony, but, Jared Freyer is one of the best recruiters I know. And that was, I saw glimpses of that at Oklahoma. So it didn't surprise me that they worked well together and that, got a top 5 recruiting class, really helps. And then some of the guys, I had recruited some of the guys that they ended up getting. So I know they were good kids, and that was like, man, these guys are good guys. Why wouldn't you want to be here? And just kind of the change, I think is what I needed. And I got other offers from jobs at Northwestern, but Virginia Tech just seemed special in that aspect, and just how much they loved it. And obviously Jared for helping me along the way a little bit, saying, this is a different place from even Oklahoma or where we've been. This place is special. So, and then, kind of talking about it already, but a little bit, but just to improve it, just being available, for these guys and working really hard with them and trying to get them to be the best they can in that aspect. So,
more from Tass asking, what kind of wrestlers do you want to develop and what do you look for when recruiting a wrestler? Or what do you look for in maybe untapping from a wrestler that's already on the roster?
Yeah, no, my style has always kind of been, I'm going to score a lot of points and really, give the fans something they want to see. I was never a big fan of the 3-2 matches or anything like that. So to develop our guys, I have a couple guys that are like that now. And then, just from a recruiting standpoint, looking guys that can score points, that's big for me. I think as our staff, Tony's given me a lot of freedom to, find these guys that do kind of wrestle, similar style to how I was, but, just really looking, and I've gotten a couple guys now that are way different than I wrestled. So it's always a challenge to me to find similarities in both our styles and recruiting. But I want to see a lot of points. I want to see guys wrestle, and that's kind of how I've always been in that aspect. So that's one thing I look for recruiting, but work ethic, character, those are things I put high value on as well. So
another question coming from Michael P. Gowan asking about Corbin Myers. How's he looking and feeling coming off the injury? He was granted the 6th year. And, of course, that's going to lead the Hokie fans wondering about the weight class situation with him and Colin Girardi there.
Yeah. I think, first off, Corbin looks great. He's been really good. I get updates from him all the time, and he's doing really well. Super happy that he got another year. That's kudos to him because, he earned it, right? And he, I wish I would have more time with him. He's only got a year left, but really good kid and works really hard. So I'm excited to see what's going to happen with him and Girardi in that aspect. I won't give too much lineup info now since we're in the end of June, but I know that we have a good problem, I would say, in a way of that. We got a lot of guys, a lot of talented guys around some weights that, have to battle it out a little bit possibly and maybe go up to different weights or we'll find room, but we got a good problem in the smaller weights, into that aspect that we've got a lot of talent and the best guy I believe will come through. And then, if things change and lineups change and we do different things that we'll see a lot of guys wrestle under that aspect. So
some of this depending on, I guess, when sports open back up. But John Kemper's asking, to your knowledge, will there be a Southeast Open this year?
I do not know yet. I do not know. We're hoping for it in that aspect, but I do not know. Just with the things going on, open tournaments aren't as regulated, I should say, in some aspects as the regular tournaments. I know some of the open tournaments training staff, there's not as many and they're having to get around. So we're hoping the open tournaments are going to be a thing in general, but obviously hoping for the Southeast Open as well. But we're hoping, we'll get more clarity on that in the incoming months than what we have right now, because we really don't know.
All right, moving back to other things that are in Hokie news. It's not like we're burying the lead here, but there's a world medalist coming to Blacksburg by way of Lincoln, Nebraska, and New Jersey, James Green. Talk about what that means for not just the Southeast Regional Training Center, but the Hokie wrestling program overall.
Yeah, James is a big get. That was huge for us. I think, what he brings is the right fit. The RTC is you have to find the right guys that'll try to fit your program, no matter where they're from. James has been in Nebraska for a long time, had a lot of success there. I think he kind of wanted to change and we were lucky to hop on him, when we did. And I think it's going to be a big asset to our guys, but to him, we've got a lot of good young guys, kind of around his weight that I think are going to help him in a way as well. And vice versa. James is obviously going to make a huge impact on them. So I think for both both guys that they're going to make a big impact on each other. And James is a good guy. He's moving here with his wife and his baby. So it's pretty awesome that, you get a chance to be around a guy like that, right? A world medalist, a 4-time All-American from Nebraska. So we're excited, excited to learn. I'm excited to bounce a lot of things off of James and to have him helping our guys as well. So.
Of course, you look at this a couple different ways. Obviously, the incumbent to that weight class is Jordan Burroughs, is his friend and training partner up there. And then, it's James Green's looking to go that weight. So are you going to train with your top competition? But then you sit there and look at, Mekhi Lewis is there at that weight, having won a junior world championship. And obviously a lot of the Hokie faithful and Hokie Nation are looking like this is definitely an opportunity for Mekhi to improve, but they're both going to be going after the same thing. And that'll make for an interesting room dynamic.
Yeah, absolutely. I think first and foremost, I think Mekhi Lewis is going to focus on winning another national title. He's got that to dwell down first in a tough weight class again next year. So I think for Mekhi, his focus is going to be that season. And I think that's, kind of not where all his stock is put into, but that's what's going to be most of his stock is win another national title, trying to go back to back in that aspect and really focused on that. Now, when it comes to freestyle, I know this happens a lot where a lot of guys are in the same weight, they're training, and the Olympic, I wish the world weight classes were there as well, because I think James is probably a true 70 kilo, and has had a lot of success at 70 kilo, but will probably have equal success at 74 because he's a good wrestler. So, with him and Mekhi, I think it can only make them both better. And then, our goal would be something great for us is to have both those guys in the finals, battling it out to see who makes that Olympic team. So, I think success would be great for both those guys. But I truly think that Mekhi's focus is going to be on winning another national title first, and then maybe the freestyle stuff will get brought up after that. But that'll be his main focus, and James will be training, for the Olympics. So.
The way the lineup thing shook out this year, Dave came back and went back down to a weight class there, and then giving the opportunity for Mekhi to redshirt. And then with everything that happened with the cancellation of college sports and sports in general, you look at it in hindsight, but well, at least he didn't burn a year. I mean, what did Mekhi learn in the off season? Where has he gotten better? And has he breathed kind of a sigh of relief a little bit, knowing that he's still got 3 additional years of eligibility?
Yeah. I think it was kind of one of those kind of lucky ways that, Dave got to go the weight class he wanted to go. And then Mekhi got to try to chase down an Olympic dream, as well. And, I think he learned a lot. I think he wrestled some high quality guys. He went to Russia. He has, some experience now that a lot of guys don't get, and I think he took advantage of those, and where he's gotten better is he's just, he's been working hard. That's his biggest thing. And I think it's one of his biggest attributes he already has now, but he finds ways to push himself. I mean, he's not a very vocal guy on our team yet. I think he can be. But where he pushes guys is he does extra after practice. He'll do, he'll drill, he'll go extra live because he wants to. He truly wants to see his peak, in the incoming years. And everybody knows how hard it is to win as a freshman. But now it's even harder, and so that's something that, that he's got to learn a little bit, but really good, example for our guys of how much work you have to put in, how much little extra things you have to do that people don't see. So I'm excited for him. I'm lucky he didn't, wrestle last year, but also feel for Dave McFadden that didn't get a chance to wrestle at the NCAA tournament. So kind of a double-edged sword, in some ways, but, I'm excited for Mekhi's future and for the program. And like I said, he leads by example. And when he becomes, even more vocal, he's going to be our, one of our team leaders. So
I guess the next steps, it's all contingent on when you're allowed back on campus, when school's going to start back up. So what are the conversations like with you and the rest of the staff on where we go from here, from now until school reopens, whenever that may be?
Yeah, I think just, knowing what our guys are doing is big. We've communicated that with with them is just make sure they're doing something, and trying to, keep their shape and be ready to go. We start school August 24th. Some people are starting earlier. Virginia Tech has had it at August 24th. So our goal is just to keep in contact, make sure these guys are, they have freedom right now. Make sure they're using their freedom to their advantage, and just keep doing what we're doing. Trust the process a little bit. Obviously Coach Roby, Frere, myself, and Hod has talked about a lot about next year and what we're going to do, and finding new ways to get better and trying to really set year 2 off in a way and keep the tradition they've already had going, but be even better this year. So,
all right, last question. What was the best food spot you've discovered in Blacksburg this past year?
That's kind of tough. I would say PK's. It's a bar and grill, but
I know PK's. Trust me, I know PK's.
Yeah, has the best pizza in Blacksburg. Me and my wife go on and on about it. She thinks it's number 2 to Mellow Mushroom, and I don't believe that. So, but it's good though. That's probably one of my favorite spots. If my wife asks me where we're going, it's usually we're getting pizza or wings from there. So it's pretty good. And there's a basketball game in there that I run, every once in a while. Every time we go in there, I probably waste $6-7 playing that basketball game in the corner of the kind of bar area. So
you're talking one where you're shooting baskets or old school NBA Jam type things?
Yeah, it's like shooting baskets. I didn't have the high score because it was unbelievable. I don't know who did it. The guy was a pro because my shot got tired after a while. But
probably Del Curry.
It was pretty, yeah, right. Somebody really, really good. And so, yeah, me and Walls would go in there every once in a while, or we'd be in there together, and Roby and those guys, and we'd play for a little bit. So something fun, and that's a good indicator that I come in every once in a while just to try to hit that basketball game up. So.
Yeah, I would tell you the stories about my experiences at PK's, but I don't know if Roby wants me to say those. So I'll just leave those to your imagination. So Cody Brewer, been good revisiting. We'll see you down the line here. And thanks for all your questions out there in Hokie Nation. This has been episode 98 of Inside Virginia Tech Wrestling. Hokie fans, listen to Inside Virginia Tech Wrestling anywhere you go by subscribing on Apple Podcasts. Go to InsideVirginiaTechWrestling.com/iTunes, or you can get the exclusive Android or iOS apps by going to InsideVirginiaTechWrestling.com.
This show is part of the Matt Talk Podcast Network. For more wrestling podcasts, head over to MattTalkOnline.com.